Week 12 of the college football season is in the books. We had a great week of football. Let's recap everything that happened. We're going to start off with Texas versus Arkansas in an interesting type of game. I mean, look, I'm glad. I'm real fucking happy that Texas came in, got the job done, and won by 2 scores. But it was a weird type of game. Initially, Texas played great ball. The defense was locked down. I would like to see a little bit more from the offense, but Arkansas's defense isn't horrible, except that week against Ole Miss. Overall, it's not bad. And the offense struggled. But the defense did what they had to do. At one point, I think it was like 13-0. They were dominating. And then everything just switched kind of fast. And all of a sudden, it's 13-10. Arkansas has all the momentum. Luckily, this Texas team is a championship team. They are going to win the Natty, and they are resilient, and they overcome any obstacle that comes their way. It's 13-10. Arkansas has all the momentum, and Texas drive down the field. And I mean drive right down the field with authority, running the ball, good passes, good runs to score a touchdown to make it 20-10 to essentially ice the game. That's called smash mouth football, baby. It was a good performance. Not great. It was good. I would have liked to see more, but at the end of the day, a win is a win. Next week, Texas plays Kentucky. They got to get the job done. And then the week after is a big one, Texas A&M. And that one's going to be huge, especially for SEC championship implications. Overall, I'm satisfied with this Texas performance, and they are going to win the Natty. Arkansas, not horrible. I mean, the offense needed to step up a little bit more in order to get the job done, which at times they did, at times they didn't. They played a weird style of ball where if you really look at the game from a whole standpoint, first 2 quarters they did nothing offensively, and fourth quarter wasn't all that great. It was that third quarter that changed all the momentum. If Arkansas is able to play like they did in the third quarter on a more consistent basis, they'd be a lot better than 5-5. But right now, 5-5, they're mid, nothing special. Thank God they didn't beat Texas. That's all that matters. Next game, Utah versus Colorado. What an absolute ass-beating Colorado gave to Utah. And this fucking kid, Wilson, Ike Wilson, whatever the fuck his name is, the little brother of Zach Wilson, I guess being a shit quarterback runs in the family, but at least Zach Wilson was good in college. This kid's a fucking bum as it is. Horrible, horrible. He would throw such bad interceptions, such bad plays over and over and over again. I had Utah to cover in this game, and it was so bad to watch this shit. Colorado, Utah's done. I mean, they're 4-6. They're on a 6-game losing streak. This team has fallen apart so badly. Wilson is a horrible QB. The season's over for them. I don't know where they're going to go from here, but it don't even matter to talk about them because they're not doing anything for the rest of the year. Colorado, their offense looks so terrifying, and it's insane to actually think about the fact that they genuinely control their own destiny, win out, and they go play BYU most likely. I mean, BYU did lose, so it could be someone else. But more likely than not, Colorado wins out. They are going to the Big 12 championship. And if they win that Big 12 championship, Coach Prime is going to be in the college football playoff. They keep playing this ball style that's like, it works in the Big 12, but in the bigger scheme, it's not going to work. Offense is great. Defense is non-existent. Against a Utah team that's not that good, you allow 24 points. Even that is too much. And there were times where Utah was pressing Colorado. The score, I mean, it doesn't tell the whole narrative of the game. I feel like Colorado pulled away heavy at the end, 2 late touchdowns. So overall, you can't really sit there and be like, oh yeah, Colorado dominated Utah the whole game. It wasn't even competitive. It was competitive at certain points. Utah did look like they were threatening to come back. Colorado looks great. Shedeur Sanders is going to be maybe even number 1, number 2, top 5 pick. Travis Hunter is for sure going to be top 5 pick. He's the favorite to win the Heisman. Personally, I don't know if I think he's the best Heisman player. I think the kid from Boise State, the running back, Genty or whatever, is the Heisman. But I can see where someone makes an argument for Travis Hunter because the shit he did in that game, that one catch where he just went up in the air, I think it was in the first half. Like, Looked like he jumped 10 feet up in the air to make that grab. It was insane. And then that touchdown to ice the game too. I think it was like a reverse play or whatever. Yeah, he was amazing. Colorado is scary, scary, scary. And it's insane to think about the fact that they control their own destiny. But I do know they have some relatively tough games, so Colorado can't get too cocky yet. Next game, Clemson versus Pittsburgh. A better game than anticipated. Clemson, I felt like, let Pittsburgh hang around. Pittsburgh, they've fallen apart. They were 7-0. They're 7-3. Season's all but over for them. I mean, they'll make a bowl game, but playoffs seem out of reach at this point. Clemson as well. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs at this point, considering there's 2 more ACC teams who have one less loss than them. Overall, Clemson played a decent game, not a great game. Aside from that Cade Clubberlang touchdown run, whatever it was, like 50-something yards, nothing really flashy about it, nothing really special. 2 teams that are decent, but not that great. I don't see either of these teams making the college football playoff. I don't even think either of these teams are going to make the ACC championship, if we're being honest. It was a good game. Good win by Clemson. Good effort by Pittsburgh. But nothing more to really say for this one. It wasn't all that special. Clemson didn't cover. They won, but didn't cover. But Clemson, yeah, they're not great this year. It's pretty embarrassing the way they played. They could have been a lot better, in my opinion. They shouldn't have lost that game to Louisville. It would be a whole different ball game if they didn't lose to Louisville. But whatever. Clemson's mid. Pittsburgh, you're falling off low key. So that's that game. Next game, BC versus SMU in a weird ass game. SMU at times looked like they were gonna pull away, and then every time it felt like BC was just hanging around, not letting them do shit. It was quite interesting, honestly, to see. At one point, I think BC took a lead or they tied up the game. And it was like, holy shit, is SMU on fraud check alert? Are they about to lose? That would be insane. They didn't. They won by 10. They didn't cover, unfortunately. That was tough. I had SMU to cover. They did not cover. But SMU played well enough. They held around. I felt like BC was playing this weird game, especially with their new quarterback, where, they were like making these weird ass plays. It didn't feel like their drive would be like penalty on first down, sack on second down, it's 3rd and 20, they make a 30-yard completion. It's like, what the fuck? SMU defense lapsed. If SMU's defense plays like this against like a Miami, for example, they're not doing shit. I think SMU has to tighten up the D a little bit. Otherwise, they'd be in trouble. Offensively, I don't think they have many problems. Defensively is where I think they need to tighten up. But clearly that's the story of the ACC championship, which is shaping up to be 2 defenses who have no experience playing defense and 2 offenses that are explosive as hell. It'll be interesting to watch if you like offense. But, BC, you're mid as fuck. You have a new quarterback. Yeah, I don't give a fuck about BC, to be honest with you. Next game, LSU versus Florida. This was a great game. I told y'all Florida was going to win this game. DJ Ugwe, he's the man. I mean, he really is. He's a really good team. The way this Florida team played was so good, especially to think that they take an early lead. LSU comes back, and it looks like all the momentum is on LSU's side. And then Florida just takes control of the game, and that touchdown to ice it, whatever it was 20-16, and then that run play, I don't know how many yards it was. It was a big run play, pop, to score the tud, essentially ice the game. It was a thing of beauty. I mean, an absolute beauty. Florida's 5-5, but this team has so much potential. If this DJ kid stays around, Florida's going to be real fucking dangerous next year. Do not fuck with these Gators teams. As for LSU, fraud. LSU sucks. Brian Kelly sucks. Brian Kelly is such an overrated head coach. I say this. I've been saying it. Go look at week 1, week 2, week 3, the shit I was saying back then. And I'll say it now. I said it last year. I'll say it every fucking year. Brian Kelly is mid. He does not know how to coach the big games. He's good against shit opponents. But when it comes to playing the bigger teams, every fucking year, he falls short. He loses to USC in week 1. They lose to Alabama badly. They lose this game to Florida. Not badly, but they got outplayed every which way. And you could blame it on everyone. You could blame it on the defense. You could blame it on the quarterback. But the consistent issue, no matter what year it is, no matter where it is Brian Kelly. He cannot compete in the top level SEC. LSU need a new head coach. And maybe then LSU will go back to its winning ways like they had with Burrow and that team. Because right now this LSU team is poorly coached and overall mid. They're never going to achieve shit. They're 6-4. Playoffs are out of the picture for them for sure now. They'll play a bowl game, but who the fuck cares in a year in which everyone's going to be paying attention to the playoff? LSU fans should be fucking pissed and calling for Brian Kelly's head. At this point, the fucking Billy Napier's a better head coach than fucking Brian Kelly. And Napier's not that great either. Good win for Florida. Great win. I had them to cover. They covered for me with ease. I could have bet them to win straight up as well. I didn't. I had them +3. But nevertheless, Florida did their thing. They covered and they won. I told y'all, DJ's a real deal. And Florida's not as bad as people think. They just have to play such high levels of competition, and that was their issue. Good win for Florida. LSU, you're trash. Next game. Louisville versus Stanford. So, if some of you watched that clip that I said in that game, I said, you can go back and watch it. I don't lie about nothing. Stanford was my biggest lock of the week. And it was. They were 20.5 point underdogs when I made the video. On Saturday, right before I bet it, they were 21 point underdogs. I told y'all my biggest lock of the week. I bet it very heavily. I was very confident that Stanford was going to cover. I knew the travel would affect Louisville, and I knew that Stanford would cover. Now, I did not think this game was going to end the way it did. I honestly did not think Stanford was going to win straight up. I was probably like, oh, Stanford is going to lose by like 10 points, maybe 14. So I feel confident betting +21. And at one point, it was a weird game too. Super weird game. Stanford's up 10-0 early. And I'm like, yeah, I'm Birdman rubbing my hands, thinking, fuck yeah. Stanford, lock of the century, easy money. I won't even have to sweat. All of a sudden, Louisville turns it up, and they go up, I think, by 14 points or like 17 points. There was at one point Louisville was threatening heavy. And I'm like, fuck. Like Stanford was up by 10. Now they're down by 2 touchdowns. Like, fuck. Too much time is left. I think it was like mid-third quarter. And I'm like, fuck. Stanford is going to fucking blow this shit for me. Luckily, they didn't. I mean, they did better than expected. They were down by 14. Mid-fourth quarter, they go and they score a touchdown to cut it to 7. At this point, for my circumstance, I'm like, okay, 21. They're up by Louisville is up by 7 with like half a quarter left, maybe a little bit under half a fourth quarter left. 21 point spread is good. Stanford was going to cover no matter what. So I kind of like kick my feet back. I bet lock of the week is a hit. Stanford gets the ball back and they score. It's a tie game. I'm like, okay, doesn't matter for me. Even if it goes to overtime, worst case scenario, they lose by 8 points? It's not the same. So I'm good. And then Stanford gets the ball back again. And all of a sudden, they may actually have a chance to win this game. But I'm thinking, no, Stanford, they're not that good to the point where they can drive down, score, and win the game. Louisville gifted them the game. Louisville did everything possible to allow Stanford to win. First, there was the delay of game penalty, in which the dumbass Louisville defender held down the Stanford player. And then I think it was an offside on the field goal attempt. Easy money, Stanford. I think Louisville ended up gifting them like 20 yards. And that's all the difference. Louisville sucks. Stanford, I mean, you're 3-7. You're not much better. But Louisville blew that game. They gift wrapped that game for Stanford. But in my case, who gives a fuck? Because Stanford covered whether they won, whether they lost. And that's all that matters. Louisville's done. Playoffs are out of the picture. They're definitely not making ACC championship now. Maybe they'll make it to the, what's it called? A bowl game. I mean, they probably will, 6-4. But bad loss by Louisville. Bad loss. Players need to be held accountable. Coaches need to be held accountable because 21-point underdog Stanford was, and they won outright. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Ashamed of yourself if that's the outcome that happens. Next game. Arizona State versus Kansas State. Again, one of my more confident picks. I had Arizona State plus 7.5. And you know, I thought Arizona State was going to do its thing, keep it close, but cover. This was the complete opposite. Arizona State dominated this game. Absolutely dominated this game. They took Kansas State's pants off and did absolutely whatever they wanted to them. Pure domination by Arizona State. They made K-State look stupid. I knew Arizona State was the better team. I didn't think they were that much better. Again, I'll take it for what it is. I had Arizona State plus 7.5. They did their thing for me. They got the job done. Kansas State is frauds. They're trash. Stop sucking them off. They are not that good. And now Arizona State is on a heater as well. They can easily make the Big 12 championship too. I kind of hope they do. I'd rather see them against BYU or them against Colorado than the matchup that's in theory going to happen right now, BYU versus Colorado. Arizona State is no fucking joke. No fucking joke. They can run the ball, they can throw the ball, and their head coach is the man. The man. Kansas State flat out sucks. They're trash. Nothing special about them. Thank God Arizona State covered, and I'm kind of happy they won as well. Yeah, nothing much to say for that other than that. Next game, Oregon versus Wisconsin in a weird one. I mean, again, I had Wisconsin to cover, and they covered easily, but come on now. Oregon almost got fraud checked. Oregon really tried their hardest to lose this game. I genuinely thought Wisconsin was going to fucking beat them. They didn't. And essentially, Oregon has secured a playoff spot now. Even if they lose, they're still going to probably make the playoffs. But still, this type of game is concerning. You can't play like this against better teams. Wisconsin is 5-5. They were 5-4 before the game started. It was a mid performance by Oregon against a mid team in Wisconsin. And most importantly, to run a fake fucking field goal when you're up by 3 in a game in which you're struggling is so bad. Dan Lanning needs to be held accountable for that. If they lost that game, that shit would be memed like crazy. Everybody and their mother would be memeing them. They are so lucky that they clutched up an interception on the final drive to ice the game against Wisconsin. But good Lord, they played bad in this game. And that fake field goal shows how bad they played. Overall, horrible performance from Oregon. I don't want to call them frauds yet, but this is why I'm confident Texas is going to win a natty. A team like Oregon will not beat Texas. I'm telling you. Wisconsin sucks. Oregon got fraud checked horribly. I don't care if they won the game. They won the game by 3. Alabama went into Wisconsin and beat them by 30. Huge difference. I think Penn State as well. Penn State beat the shit out of Wisconsin. Alabama beat the shit out of Wisconsin. Oregon couldn't do nothing against them. Was it a bad day and could it just be a fluke type of game? Yeah, but nevertheless, Oregon should have played better and they got fraud checked. I don't care if they won the game. Next game. Tennessee versus Georgia. This game went exactly how I said it would go. I wanted Tennessee to win this shit, but using your brain, you knew Georgia was going to win and cover. And that's exactly what Georgia did. For all my Tennessee bettors, it is so bad. I would be sick. I didn't bet on this game, period, because I didn't want to bet on Tennessee because, like I said, my brain is telling me bet Georgia. And I didn't want to bet Georgia, even live. I don't want to bet Georgia. I don't want to see them win. They were down by 10, Georgia was. I genuinely thought Tennessee was going to whoop their ass. And these dumb motherfuckers blew it. They flat out blew it. Georgia ended up winning by 14 after being down by 10. Horrible performance from Tennessee. Underwhelming performance. And I don't think Tennessee is all that good, but whatever. The one positive of this game is that there's only one team in the SEC with one loss. You know who it is. But it doesn't matter. We're not talking about them. We're talking about this game. Georgia played well, really well. Running was efficient. And more importantly, Carson Beck, Sid from Ice Age, who's cracked out, clearly didn't smoke crack this past week and got some good head from his girlfriend because he played well. He really did. He didn't throw any interceptions and did what he had to do to win the game. I still think Georgia are frauds. They're going to make the playoffs now, probably. But I know Georgia is playing Georgia Tech in the very last week of the season. Don't overlook that matchup. We'll get there when we get there, but don't overlook that matchup. Crazy shit can happen. I feel it. But that's more manifestation than reality. Tennessee's trash. I don't care who Tennessee's going to play. Unless it's like Notre Dame in the college football playoff, Tennessee's not winning. Tennessee's not that good. I don't have any faith in Tennessee. Nico needs a little bit more time to develop. Eventually, Tennessee will be good. But this year, I don't think they have the experience needed to get to the very top. Georgia does, though. That's why I'm kind of scared of Georgia. But I'm not scared of them in the bright lights, especially if Texas rematches Georgia. Georgia will not come out on top. This was a great performance. It was a great performance from Beck. Kirby coached well. They overcame the hurdle that they kind of made for themselves early in the game. So it's a good win, but not good enough for me. Next game, Kansas versus BYU. I knew it was a trap. I told you it was a trap. The spread was too low. Last week, BYU escaped. This week is a whole nother ball game. BYU got fraud checked, and the spread indicated to me that Vegas was backing Kansas. Everybody was betting on BYU, and that's exactly why Kansas won and covered the spread. It's not that Kansas is the better team. They're not. They're 4-6. They ain't doing shit this year. But clearly Vegas knew something we didn't. BYU, these last few weeks, after being such a dominant force, have slowed down, which is why I say Arizona State versus Colorado would be more entertaining. But again, BYU, I'd be more worried if I was playing, if Colorado plays BYU, I think Colorado's going to win. But again, if Arizona State plays BYU, I think Arizona State's going to win too. BYU needs to get their shit out of their ass. BYU, I should call them, because the quarterback's Jewish, which is crazy, by the way. A fucking Mormon university with a Jewish quarterback, goddamn. I think the fucking coach is Egyptian Jewish, so whatever the fuck he is. What a diverse university. Whatever. Great win by Kansas. They balled out. BYU needs to stay on alert because they cannot afford to lose another game. If they lose another game, they probably won't make the Big 12 championship. So BYU got to get their head out of their asses, because last 2 weeks they should have lost. They should be 2 losses already. But they escaped week prior. This week they couldn't get it done. It was a good effort by BYU. Kansas balled out, did their thing, and that's why they came out on top. Nothing more to say for this one. It was a good week 12 of the college football season. I can't wait for week 13 because it's going to be even better.